Hello, hello everybody. Welcome to our new day of class. Today I am switching it up and I'm trying out like an iced tea. Hey Aunt Maria. So I've got like a normal like mint green tea and I'm kind of making it iced. I got frosted glass and I'm doing that instead. And it was an excellent call. Hey y'all. Hey Brandon, welcome. It's good to see you. Brandon, are you painting with us? Please tell me yes. Hey Amber. Hey Ellie. Y'all, welcome. I'm so glad you are choosing to join me today. Right now, y'all go ahead, get whatever treat you want, get whatever drink you want. Like I said, I'm doing like an iced mint green tea with like a honey. And it's pretty good. It feels special. Brandon says I have no paint. Well, yeah, it is for painting, but you can also just enjoy Brandon. So if you just want to hang out and watch the rest of us paint, you are welcome to do that. We're just kind of chilling. So it's going to be fun. Everyone who is joining with the painting, let me show y'all what you are going to be doing, what you're going to be using. So stand by. All right, so we need our disposable or cleanable surface. I've got like plastic wrap over some random mat board. I've got the flowers. We are doing white clover today. The plan was to do vine, cross vine, but when I went to go pick it this afternoon to bring it over to the studio, like it was just all gone. So I don't know if somebody else went through today and decided to pick all of the cross vine in the area. I don't know, but it was there last night. What I posted last night to tell you what we were doing, it was in reach and ready to go, and then this morning it was gone. So yeah, so we're doing white clover instead, which is on my list. It's such a pretty flower. You're gonna need your white paint, your blue, yellow, and red, clean water, brushes, just the one. It's kind of, someone had asked me the other day, it's about the size of a pinky nail and it's flattened. So this kind of brush or something similar to that. So what you're gonna need, a pencil and then a rag to wipe off your brush on. And then of course your fancy drink, whatever that looks like today. Hello Mel, welcome. Glad you've joined us. So like I said, we had to switch gears on our flowers today, but that's kind of like the name of the game these days. So we're rolling with it. This is one that I've loved for a long time and I've been wanting to do. So it's just, we're finally gonna get around to doing it. So if y'all are ready, we'll be getting started. But the first thing we have to do, take a deep breath. So let everything wash away. This is a stress-free time. This is an easy time. This is not about accomplishment. This is not about achievement. This is not about perfection. This is about skill building. It's about learning something new. And it's just about practicing and focusing on things that are lovely rather than allowing our minds to be consumed with everything else that's going on. So for just this short bit of time, I want you to put every other stressor away and just focus in on this flower, focus in on these colors, and just look at this painting and just enjoy the time. So this painting is actually, this flower is going to be a lot more friendly to kids. So if you know any kids in your life who you think would enjoy learning how to paint a flower, this lesson's going to be a lot more, if you got to do our other clover, our crimson clover, it's going to be that style. So this is a really kid-friendly class. So after the fact, you can always share this with some kiddos in your life and give them some time to learn how to paint and just to have some fun. So it's a lot less drawing today, a lot more just mixing colors and dotting them on. It's gonna be fun. So let's get started. Let me flip you around and get my setup set up. Okay, Yona has been a hoodlum today. She's been going through all the stuff. And so we'll see if she has decided to retire to her lair and stay there, or if she comes back out and starts messing with the paints again. Because she was trying to take these flowers away, she was sniffing the paints, she was into everything. She is a mess. So the first thing we're gonna do every class time is we're going to observe our flower, observe what we're drawing. So this right here is our white clover. So pulling it up nice and close, it is So pretty. The cool thing about this is when you look at it from up top, it's just like a straight green circle with like a little white rim. But when you turn it to the side, you see how it cups up, and then it also comes down like at that angle. You see they have all these green pods that they're shooting from. You've got a little bit of light green, dark green. You've got that dark pinkish brown right there in the center. The petals are, some of them are like a yellow white. Some of them are like a light pink. Some of them have a little green to them. Some of them down here are more brown. And they just kind of come out so beautifully, so three-dimensionally. So that is the flower that we're working with. I think it is just so pretty, and it's everywhere. I don't know about y'all, but in Athens, it is all over the place. So this is what we're working with today. I've got 5 laid out here, and they just naturally, when I went to pick them today, they leave their leaves behind. So yeah, the stems kind of grow separately from the leaves, which I thought was kind of cool. And then I picked some leaves to add into the composition, but I liked these fun lines that were overlapping that just kind of made a fun composition. So we're gonna stick with that for today, and we're gonna get started in that direction and then move on. If you are live, just a reminder, we're gonna go up to the hour mark, and if at that point we still need to keep going, I'm gonna close this live out, and then I'll open up another one for everyone to ask questions and for us to kind of go a little bit deeper on exactly what you need me to reteach. If you're watching the recording, take your time, pause it where you need it, and just know that I am always available, so shoot me a DM, shoot me a picture, show me what you're working with, and I'm happy to help you out. You are not doing this by yourself. It doesn't matter if this is weeks later or months later. I am here to help you, and I'm happy to help you. Okay, so let's get started. Grab your pencil. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna draw out our stems and our lines. So when you look in this section right here, it might feel a little bit overwhelming, but it's gonna be really simple. So let's start with our top one and bring that down. We see this nice archway. Let me see if I can trace that line a little better. That nice arch. And we're not drawing the flowers yet, we're just drawing the stems. So start nice and big. Remember, we have our different axes. So finger axes, wrist axes, elbow, and then this is me moving my shoulder and my elbow together. So we're gonna do a little bit of our shoulder and elbow to make this big long line. So you don't need to be doing this with your fingers. Try and drag with your shoulder and your elbow a nice long line. Hey Abigail, welcome. Abigail, are you painting with us today, or are you just chilling and hanging out? Drag that down. A nice big arch. Be bold, y'all. All right. So that's my first line. There is no such thing as perfect. It's literally just a line. So don't let yourself stress out about this. The next one we're gonna tackle is the next tallest one, and that's this guy right here. We're gonna pull that down, and it goes all the way to the bottom. Oh, gosh, y'all, I'm struggling. Okay, here we are. All the way to the bottom, going up to that next tallest one. So I'll come over here. I'm using my wrist a little bit and my elbow. I'll pull that down a little bit further. There you go. Cool? All right, next one. Let's continue on with the one that arches the same way. So let's do the one underneath it. So I'm gonna come over here and do nice big gaps in between each of your flowers, because that's gonna make a nicer composition. So just play with that. I'm gonna make sure those overlap, and then I'm pulling it down. Cool. All right, now let's come over to this guy, and we're gonna pull it down to about right here. So I'm coming over here. There we go. All right, and then one more, this one right here, and that's our shortest one. It kind of comes crossways, but you can put that one wherever you want it to go. I'm gonna do it going like this. Cool, and so already, y'all, we have a very interesting composition, so this is gonna be a lot of fun. The next thing we're gonna do is I'm paying attention right now, let's try not to get to focus, on these shoots down here. So that's the cool thing, we've got our circles on these 3, but then on these 2, a little bit lower, we have these random pods coming down. So you can start, let's start right at the top. Just draw a little kind of upside down cone. It's not really a cone. I don't know what you call that shape. Upside down cup. Y'all can tell me. Hey, Davis. It's been a minute. Good to see your name. Okay, do that same thing again on the top one. So these top two are the ones that get these little cones. Now, draw a little bit more of a line going up from the tip of that. And now I want you, from that little line, I want you to draw just a little circle. Okay? Just a little circle, and do that with all the ends of your flower stems. So just a little circle. Nice and easy. So this is where I say, like, this is a fun one for you to get your kids involved with, or your friends' kids, or your nieces or nephews, because it's a lot of simple drawing and then a lot of playing with color. So that's all we're doing with the pencil, so you can set those down. Take a sip of your drink, a bite of your snack, and we will keep moving forward. So now we're gonna mix paint. First paint color we're gonna mix is our green for our stems. So blue and yellow, and a little bit of white. So one thing I've learned, we don't all have the same paints. So you know what paints you're working with at this point. Gracie May, welcome. So you know what paints you're working with. So my blue is too strong, so I have to use a little bit of blue. But if you are someone who has a weaker blue, use more blue and less yellow. So just kind of pay attention to the paints that you're using. The more you do this, the more you use them, the more you're gonna know what works well and what doesn't work. Gracie, the cake you made the other day looked so tasty. It made me jealous that I don't live next door to you anymore and I don't get to enjoy that stuff anymore. All right, so we've got our blue and our yellow and our white. And so we are just gonna mix up a nice light green, because looking up close you can see it's a nice limeish green. So that's fun. So grab your paintbrush, and I've put these big medium-sized dots of the colors on my surface, but I'm not gonna mix them all at the same time. I'm gonna take little bits of it and drag it over and mix my color bit by bit. That way I'm not having to put more paint on my palette and I'm not wasting paint. So I'm able to just kind of slowly build up the right color, and at that point I'll know what the proportions are, and so I can mix accordingly. So grab a little bit of your white, mix that in, and remember what we're mixing right now is our base color. So the base color does not matter too much. It's just where we get the actual color on the page, and then from that we're gonna build up, add some dark spots, add some light spots, and just make it look round. But we need that first color to go down just to kind of get that initial bit out of the way. So once you have that, flatten your brush out, nice and thin. I do that by, I have my rag and I just squeeze it in between, and that gives me this nice point, if you can see that. So get that nice and sharp, put a little bit of paint on the edge of your brush, this is the color I've got, right on the edge, and look at how sharp that point is. So now I'm gonna drag this line all the way down and cover each of my stems. And the way we've talked about before, the way that I make sure that my stem doesn't change thickness is I plant my wrist on the page, and then I'll hold my fingers the same distance from the paper as I drag. And I use that elbow and shoulder axis to pull down. So I'm not moving my fingers, I'm not moving my wrist, I'm just pulling down like that. So do that 5 times, or however many flowers you drew, do it that many times, and just follow the lines that you've already drawn. If you need to re-flatten your brush, you always can do that. And just try not to, as you drag your the palm of your hand along the page, just try not to overlap with wet paint, because then you're gonna have to cover something up, and that's less fun. If you go off the pencil marking a little bit, that is completely okay. keep going with the line that you've made, and you can always go back and erase that pencil marking. So it's better to just keep the thin line and erase the pencil mark later than it is to try and thicken up the line and capture the pencil mark, and then you've got a really thick stem and you got to turn it into a tree, and then all of a sudden you're just working on a different flower. So just stick with a thin line and just drag it down. All right, I've got my light green pulled down, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm just gonna do my initial bit of stem work on the flowers. So you can see, if you've painted with me before, you know I love working in layers. And so you can see that we have a lot of layers ahead of us. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just add one of the layers while I have this paint color mixed. Because why not take advantage? So make sure you have a nice flat brush. If you need to squeegee it, squeegee it. And get a little bit on the tip of your brush. And then from this circle, you're just gonna overlap out of it and just draw a little straight line. So we're just gonna do that with each of our circles. We're gonna take the flat of the brush and just pull it out. Not filling in the circle just yet, just kind of flattening, doing that line, kind of doing like a starburst out. Y'all are doing great. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you have these little cones coming down also, you're going to do the same thing. So just kind of fill those in, do a few starbursts coming out. All right. The next thing we're going to mix is we're going to mix kind of a greenish brown color. So you need to add a little bit of red to your paint palette. So I've got my green here, and we know that to mix brown, we've talked about this before, but to mix brown, all you have to do is mix all of your primary colors together. So I've got my green mixed up when I mix blue and yellow together, and now that I want a brown, I'm just going to take some red and mix that in with it. And then I get a good brown color. So get that mixed up. And then my paintbrush, because I'm mixing with it, has gotten really gunky. So I didn't make nearly enough, so I'm gonna mix a little bit more together. And then I'm gonna clean off my brush. So clean that brush off, wipe it nice and tight, and then get some of that greenish brown that we just mixed. Mine's a little bit more on the green side. This is what we're working with, but it's still, you can see it's still a brown. Get a nice thin point, a little bit of that paint at the end, and we're gonna decide which of our stems are on top. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and decide it's on top. So I'm going to take this one right here. I'm just taking one side of the stem, and I'm trying to stay as thin as possible. And I'm just grazing this side with a little bit of my darker color. Great job, y'all. So it's okay if it completely covers. Just try and stay as light as possible and try not to lose the whole other color, but like I said, it is not the end of the world if you do. All right, just keep going with your stems. And as you come to the parts where they overlap, this is where you decide which one's on top. So, hold up 1 second and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to do it with, that was a fat brush. Let's get that thin. Okay, so this one right here, I'm going to pull it down. And then I come to this part right here where they overlap. And so I'm not gonna crisscross over top of this one. I'm gonna make a point to stop my line and then restart it. Stop my line and then restart it. So that way it really does give that illusion of one of them being on top of the other. So stop, restart. And then I'll let this one be on top of the other one, so we'll just keep going down. If your paint is too thick and it's not really gliding well, just add a little bit of water and that'll help you to just kind of pull it down. A little bit of water. Okay, and just keep pulling them down, deciding which ones are on top. Stop, restart as you need to. Last one. For me. It's okay if you're not working as fast as me. So just grab that, pull it down, stop as you need to, restart, stop, restart. The last one I'm doing is at the very bottom, so I'm having to do so many stops and restarts. But it's worth it, because here is it up close right now. So we've got a great start to this. All right, now while I have this greenish color mixed up, the darker green-brown, I'm gonna keep it nice and tight, but I'm just gonna do little dots of it. And we're looking at, let's see if we'll focus in. So we're looking at getting a little bit of these details in, of the in-between, and just a little bit more of that texture. So I'm just gonna do little dots like that. So little small pools, small dots, just coming out from center, not covering over the green you've already made, but just kind of adding to it. It's okay if some turn out a little bit glumpier than you meant to. That does not matter. Just adding a little bit of detail. My brush got a little bit too chunky and too fat, so I am cleaning it off, wiping it off, and then recovering it in paint. Y'all can always do that, especially with these thin details. It's better to do that and restart than to push on with a brush that's just making really ugly glumps of paint. So, gosh, this brush, I tell you. All right. A few more of those. And I'm alternating between using the flat tip of my brush like this and then using the point of the brush like that. So you can get different shapes and different sizes by just changing the way you hold your brush and rotating it in your hand to kind of get the different side that you need working. Okay, so that's that. Now we need that brown, that reddish brown, orangey brown color. And so I'm gonna mix a little bit of my red into that center spot. Grab a little bit more yellow. I'm going for a much more kind of orangey brown. Just mixing that up. Okay. So this is the color we've got. You can see it right there. And what we're doing is we're looking at this part down here and the part of the very core. So we're gonna tackle those two things. Mix a little water in if you need to. So let's start with the bottom bits. So once you have a nice flat brush, I'm flattening mine out. So I'm using this, flattening it out, making it nice and pointy, nice and sharp. Getting a little bit on the edges. And then I'm gonna start down here and I'm just gonna do those straight lines coming up. Just like that. Is the lighting okay for y'all? I can turn on my my studio lights. I just have it with the natural skylight right now. So y'all let me know if it's a little bit too dark for you. I can always turn on my studio lights. I just typically go more towards the natural light. Okay, so that's my little cones, my little extra flowers coming down. Now I'm gonna move on to the ones down here. So I'm gonna keep doing the same thing. I'm gonna start with that bottom line, coming out like that. And then I noticed that the core of these flowers are typically the same color. So now I'm gonna do just a dot of it and some radiating out. From the very, very center of my pods, I'm gonna do those little brown things coming out. So at the very bottom of our flowers, we have this color coming out, and then at the very center. So you're gonna kind of do the center bit, and then you're gonna do a little skirt. So center bit coming out, and then do that little skirt. And you'll see my little skirts are coming pretty far out of the original shape that I drew. That original shape was just showing me where the core of the flower was gonna be, but I always intended on the flower coming out of that core. So I've got my core kind of all painted in now between brown and green. Y'all are doing great. We're halfway done with this class, if you believe it. So while I've got this color mixed up now, I'm gonna let the remnants of this color start off. So if you have a lot of this color left, maybe take a little scoop of it, put it off to the side, and then get some white and mix that in. We're gonna mix a nice light brown. So it's more of a cream color actually, if I'm looking at it. It's more this cream. See, like a tan. A tan beigey. If you need, like myself, to wipe off your brush, wash off your brush and wipe it, do that. All right, get a nice sharp point like we've been doing. And we're gonna start on the outside of these guys. So I don't know if any of y'all have done the dogwood flowers also already, but it's always a little bit of a challenge to do a flower that's primarily white. Now we see with this one, there are so many colors inside these flowers, so it's not as bad as the dogwood, but it still has, all of our edges are still white, and so doing white on a white surface can be difficult. So we are adding as many variations on the color white as we can to kind of add some dimension, add some roundness so it doesn't get lost in the white background. So mix that cream color up, add some water if you need to, just to kind of make it a little bit more smooth and flowy. And then we're gonna start on the outside in and just drag this color in, just like that. So here's your close up. So just like that. I'm starting, instead of working in to out now, I'm more concerned with how the outside edge of the flowers, the petals look, than the inside edge. So I am going out to in. And we can see that all the shapes are a little bit different, and I'm just starting with the top bit for right now. So I'm not bothered with the bottom right now, I'm just worried with that top crown. And they're not all perfectly round. We see that some of them are kind of like this shaped, or like that shape, I don't know. I'm struggling with my hands. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like this is not perfectly round. This one kind of has like a skirt and then a round top. So it doesn't have to be a perfect ball, is what I'm saying. So just outside in, don't cover over the green center. This is kind of outside of that. I'm just connecting in. Y'all are doing great. You know, the funny thing with me is I always do a practice round before I do the live one with y'all, and almost always I like my live one with y'all better than my first one because I kind of need that one round of figuring it out first, and then when I actually get down to it and do it again with y'all the second time, I kind of have a gauge of how I'm going to approach it a little bit better, and it tends to look better, in my opinion. Okay. So I put myself in a tricky position, and now all of this is wet paint, and I left the top one. Rookie move, but I'll make it work. Okay, So just be careful not to stick your hand in wet paint, as I am doing. And if you do, just be careful not to re-stick it somewhere else right away. All right, so that's that. And now we're gonna add the little tips of white to our bottom bits too. So this is just gonna be a dot instead of a full brush. So just a little dot, 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 dot. Dot, 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 dot. And then inside these guys, adding those dots. So not going the full length of our little brown lines, but just kind of going towards the middle of them. And just adding little tiny dots. That's what we're looking at. Little tiny dots. Okay. And I am also noticing I forgot to do the center of my top flower with my brown earlier. So I'm gonna need to mix up a little bit of that brown color again so I can fix that. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. Y'all just remember, if any of y'all has any questions, to let me know. And I'll be quick to stop what we're doing and just answer those questions for you. Odds are someone else has the same question. And so you're helping everyone else out too whenever you just ask what seems to be blaring to you, because sometimes I just don't notice things. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to our more subtle colors on the insides of these. So take some white, if you already have it on here, bump it off to the side. Miguel, is that you? Let me know. Y'all, I don't know, in case you are wondering, I don't know most people's screen names. So I guess at them and sometimes I get them wrong. But if you, whenever you hop on, if you can just like comment your like real person name, that would be lovely and help me out, because yeah, I want to say hey and I want to know who's on here. I just don't always recognize people's names. Okay, so I'm mixing a nice like soft green, like a green tinted white. We talked about that a lot during the Dogwood series. A green tinted white. So don't think you're mixing green. You're mixing white with a slight green tint. So I'll show you that color in just a second. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm working with right now. A green tinted white. And just like I've done before, I'm gonna try and get as much of that paint that I just mixed onto my palette, and then I'm going to wipe this off because I do not want a really clumpy brush. So that's nice and thin point again. I just wiped that off. I'm gonna get some of this green tinted white and get ready to use it. So I see that mostly on the inside of our flower petal, right about here. Do you see that? Just a nice lighter green that pops up right in that in-between spot. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna do little short lines, if not dots in some places, of that color. Just like that, okay? So I'm gonna do some up here. As I have the ones that are more rounded, I'm just gonna go around in a circle and do some there. So I'm not really messing with that inside brown that shows me where all the pot is coming from, but I am going around it. So I'm building it up. Oh, hey Beth, I didn't even notice that you were here too. Gracie, thank you for the thumbs up. Gracie, are you painting with us today, or are you just kind of hanging out and watching? I told your mom I wanted you to paint with us. All right, just kind of add those lines. Just like that, all right? Oh, that's looking good. I am really pleased with how this is turning out. Okay, add a few more onto this one because I didn't do that one. Okay, that should be good. Y'all figure out if you're happy with yours. If you want any more dots, add a few more dots, a few more lines. Okay, I'm pleased with that. Y'all, I love this one so much more than my last one. This is great. Okay, so next we're gonna shift to a yellowish white. So leave that one, or, I mean, your choice. You can use it and mix more white, or I'm just gonna come over here and mix up some white with some yellow. So it's just a mildly different color. It's still like a white tint, but it's just adding a little bit more of that dimension. Okay, so once you get that color mixed up, this is the color we're looking for. So you can see it's just between these two, they're just a little bit different, but that difference will show. So get all your paint on there, clean off your brushes, and then get just a little bit on the edge. And now we're gonna come closer to the top. So we're gonna leave a bit of a gap. We're gonna come closer to the top and we're gonna pull down. It's okay if they don't all show up perfectly. We're just adding that dimension. And you don't need to cover over all that you've already done. We are just adding some dots in there. Just in the outer edge. Y'all let me know if you have questions. This is definitely a mood change from when we were doing the iris last week, but I'm glad that y'all stuck with me through that one. It was definitely on the more difficult side, but I think a lot of y'all's, the ones that I saw at least, they turned out really beautifully. So I was really pleased with that. All right, clean those brushes off. Now we're gonna move to, here, I'll give you a second. I'll do a close-up of the flower petal while I give you a second. Okay, so let's get that true white, pull it over to the side. We're getting really close to having most of this done. Yours is looking like that too. So now I've got my true white, my brush nice and sharp, and I'm just gonna add some dots now, varied in the center. So here is what we're talking about, just some dots. Pop those in, and this is adding that last little pop of dimension. And this is why we do like tinted whites first, because then it makes the true white really pop and really show up. So just add your dots. You can even have one overlapping with your center somewhere. Pop those in. Okay. Y'all, I am really pleased with this. I think this looks really lovely. Okay, so right now I'm gonna give y'all just a couple minutes to just kind of keep working, keep piddling, and go ahead and start asking me questions, because really the majority of our training is done for this. So we've got most of this already complete. So y'all just let me know, hit me with your questions if you have any, and I'll hang around for a minute or so, and y'all can just keep working. We'll all just keep piddling around. But as far as instruction goes, we're pretty much there. Can y'all hear the train? My studio is right next to a line where the train comes through our town pretty often. So I hear it all the time. I'm just piddling around, mixing different paint colors. I'm gonna add a little bit more detail to my stems just because I feel like it, not because it's necessary. Just let me know if you have any questions with this one. I know this one was pretty straightforward with our steps 1, 2, and 3, and so on. So you might not have as many questions this time, which is great. So I'm just adding a little bit of that highlight, a little bit more of a highlight to my stems, and how I did that is I mixed my green color back up and more white in with it, and I made kind of a minty green, and I got my brush nice and flat, and then I'm just taking and doing little moments of that highlight coming in, being very careful not to scrape my hand along wet paint. And y'all, some brushes are going to be more cooperative than others. So if you have to keep reflattening yours every couple minutes, that's okay. You'll get used to it. It'll become less bothersome as you do it. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to give y'all a moment to screenshot. Hey Jillian, I'm gonna give y'all a moment to screenshot my picture, screenshot the flowers, screenshot them together. So this is mine, right here. So take that screenshot if you need it. These are the flowers. Here's the two of them together. All right, let's see, that's my messy studio. And that is it for today. So if you join me for the live and you're still finishing up, hit me with the pictures of what you're working on. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'm here and available, and I'm happy to help. And please post these. So tag me in them when you post them, and then use the hashtag LovelyThingsToCome so that we can all see them later and enjoy them. And that way, as people continue to take the class onward and onward, you can always look up that hashtag LovelyThingsToCome and see what people are painting and what they're creating and what they've done with the same classes that you've taken. So please share, please let people see them and celebrate with them. I'll try and repost them, but do know that some of y'all have private accounts, and so that means I can't share them. So just know I'm not like leaving you out. Like, I just can't share a private account. Am I missing anything, y'all? If you're watching the recording, please hit me up with questions. I'm always happy to help. I hope you're having a lovely day. I have had a lot of fun with y'all. I've wanted to paint this flower for a long time, so I'm really glad. I'm bummed that the crossvine disappeared, but I am glad that we finally got a chance to do this one. So y'all have a great day. I love y'all, and I'm grateful for y'all. And I'll see you around. Bye.